let's dive into a little bit. I'm starting with how Frank bested Bielsa. So again, one of the things that we heard was like this Cinderella story. Leeds are back. They're a big club. And that again, for us in the States, I had said I had to do a little bit of homework to understand what Leeds were about, Clayton. I didn't really hear it. But then leading up to the match, it's all about, Bielsa's this master tactician. I hear on the Chelsea Fancast pod when they had a Leeds fan on talking about how I don't really get Frank Lampard. I think he's overrated as a tactician. I just don't think he's very good. All I can say is that when it comes to tactics, Bielsa, you just know what you're going to get, right? Like Leeds played the same way every single match, a little bit like Maurizio Sarri. It doesn't matter who they play, they're going to do a certain thing. And I thought Frank absolutely nailed how the team was set up, how we nullified them. I mean, the stats show that, and we can get into some of the stuff, but it was just so good. You're talking about how the media had, Leeds as their darling, their promoted darling, and I thought we just went out there and absolutely slapped them.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting that this whole sort of Bielsa loving. I believe, and I might be wrong, but apart from a couple of minor things in South America, that Bielsa, like his countryman Maurizio Pochettino, has won the square root of nothing, and that's not to that's not to undermine him as a coach, because obviously he is a good coach. But I think that Frank is learning on the job. He's a very young manager, certainly in Premier League terms. He's only had one interrupted season behind him. And I think he's just evolving. I think tactically he has been naive in the past, and I think we have suffered because of that. But I'm not seeing any of that this season. And this was a perfect example of how much homework they'd done, what they needed to do. There was talk about breaking the tackle of the man for man, and then we were in on goal, which is how it proved. And we created so many chances that had we not been so wasteful in front of goal, Nick, this may have been a rout.
Yeah, I think Clayton and I are on about the same page in terms of how we felt about this match, whereas maybe Dan and Brandon had a little bit more of an enjoyable viewing experience. I will always rue the lack of finishing, because as we said in our first recording, Clayton, today, it was our warm up recording for the real thing.
Dress rehearsal.
Every time we miss an obvious goal scoring chance, the dread creeps in for me. It's like, oh man, you go up 3-1 early, or you go up 2-0 within the first 5 minutes because you have those two really clear cut opportunities, and the game could be over very quickly, right? And it basically takes the air out of the Leeds balloon, and you could see Chelsea really running up the score at that point. The fact that this went a little wonky in the first half, and then Chelsea clearly settled in and this really got stronger as the match went on, which is a credit to what Brandon's about to talk about with some stats on running. I think is a credit to Frank's tactical awareness. I think Chelsea were set up perfectly. We said in the preview show that if we did have less possession, it would allow Leeds to push up further. It would allow for our counterattack to do more and have more space in behind. And that's pretty much how the script went. I mean, it was clinical.
I know. And I understand, you guys were really concerned at 2-1, right? Like, hey, we're one counterattack or one break away from being at all level. I just took a lot of comfort and confidence in how much we were how many chances we were creating. It seemed like we pretty much knew exactly what we needed to do to counteract them. We knew what we needed to do to absorb them, and we were just able to have wave after wave of attack. And you play this match another 10 times, like we win 6-1, right? Like we just do. But obviously it wasn't happening today, but I've just played in these matches where I felt like there's nothing but confidence. You're like, it's going to come. Leeds really weren't threatening Chelsea too much. And I was enjoying seeing all of the attacks happen just is time over time. And, you talk about how Leeds are just, upped for all of the running they do, which, by the way, just because you run a lot doesn't mean you're a good team. And I think we saw the difference between good players and running. But then I get this tweet from False Winger who says Chelsea players ran 6 kilometers more than Leeds United, the first team in the Premier League to do that. So then I'm like, well, wait, we outran them and we out-qualitied them. Leeds just didn't have a chance. And then you talk about how well we did defensively, which I know you guys were nervous about it, but his other tweet was Leeds United had 87 shots in the last 4 matches. That's roughly 22 shots per game. And against Chelsea, they had just 8. Dan, I just look at this as total domination. The fact that we had to wait so long for the second and the third goal to come was a bit of an anomaly, but I was enjoying the match overall yesterday. I thought tactically we were set up to perfection. We were just lacking, almost comically at times, some finishing.
Well, and the retort that I saw from a lot of Leeds supporters online after the match is, well, of course, when you can spend so much money on a squad, it's going to be easy to beat a team. This did come down to the tactics that Bielsa set up with and how he wanted to play, which again, he is not multifaceted. He has a style in which he likes to play and very much got exposed by Frank. So the question I would ask them is, are you guys sure Bielsa's really good? Like with that's I think a fair question. And I mean, they started the season really strong, had an incredible, fun, enjoyable game to watch against Liverpool where they lost. And they are not, they're not necessarily a side that is going to challenge for a European spot this season. They're going to be fun to watch. They're going to be enjoyable at times to watch them, get battered by teams, because if they're going to continue to play this way, it's not going to be a fun end to their season. They are too open. They play this, this press, this man-to-man press. And if not for one of the mistakes, one of the few mistakes from Edouard Mendy, right? You can count them on a single hand, the mistakes he has made this season, kind of coming off the line, Zuma maybe being a little bit, behind on the run on Patrick Bamford. They don't have a goal in this game. They didn't shoot enough with the way that they convert to put themselves in a position to win this match.
No.
If anything, they were only ever playing to not lose the game. And if you go into a match playing that way, it's going to be a better result going up against a side like Chelsea.
They have to shoot, as Brandon said. I mean, if they have 22 shots and they scored 1 goal in their last game, I mean, they're they have to shoot a lot to have a chance to score. And so, yeah, they ran into a buzzsaw yesterday. Now, it wasn't an enjoyable buzzsaw for me to watch at times, but it was a buzzsaw by every metric that you have at your disposal right now. And I think upon knowing the result and being able to calm my heart down a little bit, I can look back at this in a more enjoyable fashion. It was just I think it was probably the same level of frantic as that Leeds Liverpool game was at the beginning of the season. It was all over the place. It was probably the most stretched game that we played this year. And, it was not always easy, but at the end it was pretty conclusive.